everybody, this is Tiffany at Dynamite-Acres, and we are going to talk about eggs today. I'm going to show you some different types of eggs that we get from our chickens, and we're going to talk about how eggs are formed. You know, your egg starts its journey as a yolk. The yolk starts forming in the hen's ovary, and when the yolk reaches the right size, it is then released into the oviduct, where the rest of the egg will form. The next layer after the yolk that the hen forms is called the albumen, or what we know of as the egg white. The egg white takes about 3 hours to form. The shell membrane is then put on next, and the shell membrane takes about a little over an hour, so about 1 hour and a quarter. This is the very thin layer of membrane between the egg white and the shell. Sometimes your hen might lay an egg without a shell, and you can still pick it up and it'll be soft and squishy, and it's just because the membrane is holding it in place. So this membrane is really strong, especially when the egg is really fresh. This is what makes our farm fresh eggs difficult to hard boil and then of course peel. So that membrane right there is underneath the shell. At this point, after the membrane has been put on and it's holding all the pieces of the egg together, it enters the uterus, okay? This is also sometimes called the shell gland, and this is where the shell is actually added to your egg. The shell is formed in layers over a course of anywhere from 14 to 20 hours. All eggshells are white. Pigment is added to the eggshell during formation based on your chicken's breed. These 3 eggs were all gathered today, and you'll see I have one that's really dark. I have one that's really, really light. Sometimes I even get almost white eggs. And then I have this one and it has speckles on it, right? So you're gonna get a wide variety of pigmentation based on your hen's genetics and her breed. What's really cool about the brown pigmentation is that it is added at the end of the shell formation. So it's actually only on the top of your shell. So if we crack this egg open, oh look, it's a double yolker. And we look inside, the shell is actually white because the brown pigmentation is added at the end, and so it's only on the surface of our egg. Where if you look at the blue pigmentation is added at the beginning of the shell formation. So if you crack a blue egg, which I don't have any because I don't have any breeds that lay the blue eggs, but if you were to crack a blue egg, the blue coloring goes clear through the shell. And of course you have green eggs as well, and a green is a combination of the brown and the blue pigmentation in your hen's breed. So it's really, really cool. All eggshells are actually start off white, and they do not get their color until they get into the shell gland. So finally, the hen places the bloom or cuticle on the outside of the shell. This is placed on the egg as it leaves the uterus and travels outside of the hen. This cuticle or bloom is the protective layer that allows our eggs, our unwashed fresh eggs, to be shelf stable for up to 2 weeks. This protective layer seals out bacteria and it maintains the moisture inside the egg. This is what keeps it from decomposing, and they stay fresher longer. All right, let's talk about some different types of eggs that you might see. All right, so here's a couple of examples of some eggs that I get. This top one is what I call a pullet egg. Now, a pullet is a young hen. So a hen that is laying eggs, but she has not reached homeostasis with her egg production. So she hasn't reached a balance. These eggs are often elongated. They're smaller than a normal egg. Let me grab one of these normal eggs from over here. They can often have double yolks, or maybe a lot of egg white or not enough egg white. So they're just not real normal yet. They're completely safe to eat. They're an excellent egg. She's just still trying to find her groove in her egg making. So that is a pullet egg. A pullet is a young hen who is just starting her egg journey. Now this is what, in my family at least, we call these clutch eggs. So this came from my hen house that has my older hens in it. So I know that this is not a pullet egg. Now what we call a clutch egg in my family is an egg that either indicates a stop or start of laying. Now in the chicken world or egg world, a clutch is a group of eggs. So if you have a hen that's brooding and she's sitting on a group of eggs, that's her clutch of eggs. You can also talk about a clutch of eggs being the number of eggs your hen will lay in a year. So her clutch is how many eggs she would lay. This can be interrupted for a number of reasons. She could be molting. So she's losing her feathers and getting new feathers. Right now my girls are molting as we're changing seasons. She could get broody. So they don't lay when they're broody. They get a clutch of eggs put together and then they sit on those eggs until they hatch, right? So they could be sitting on a clutch of eggs. So this is just a small egg from my older hens. Again, nothing wrong with it. It's completely normal, completely safe to eat. It's just smaller than normal. I don't get very many clutch eggs, but my guess is that this young, this hen here, she's probably either going to brood or she's beginning to molt. But that is what we call a clutch egg in my family. These eggs are always fun. I do not get very many of these. I have hundreds of hens and I just don't get very many. I am really surprised that this, in the last couple weeks, I got 2 of them. These are called fairy eggs. I have heard them called wind eggs as well, but these are just a hiccup. Something just did not go quite right, and for whatever reason, the hen did not release a yolk. So these eggs are just egg white. They're really super small. Let me get my normal size egg here. Really crazy small. They're very, very lightweight because there's no yolk in there. It's just egg white. And there's no indication of a problem. Like, for whatever reason, the egg production just had a hiccup. And I have had hens that were in isolation. They had a fairy egg one day and a completely normal egg the next day. So for whatever reason, we've had an interruption, but normally the hen goes right back to normal egg laying after a fairy egg. And then of course we have the famous double yolker. Now this one is huge. It almost looks like 2 eggs put together with a wrinkle in the middle. You can see this is my normal size egg. And double yolkers are always super fun. Now they don't have to be large. As you saw at the beginning of the video, I had my normal sized brown egg, and when we cracked it to look at the inside of the shell, it was a double yolker. Now that can come for many reasons. Most of the time it's just 2 yolks were released by the hen. Most likely that dark egg is probably one of my young hens that are still trying to get their balance set up. And so she released 2 yolks. But this one is obviously a double yolker. And I get a few of these every day. And they're just so much fun. Now, double yolk is probably the most common. Let's break this one and see what it is. Normally 2 yolks is what you end up with a great big egg. However, there is literature out there that people have found more. 3, 4, 5. I think the record is 9. I'm not sure if it was a chicken egg. But multiple yolks can definitely happen in your eggs. But they don't have to be huge eggs either. A lot of times your great big eggs are double yolkers, but they don't have to be huge to be a double yolker. So the last 3 eggs I want to talk about are wrinkly eggs, calcium-coated eggs, and lash eggs. Wrinkly eggs are often from your older hens. I get a few of these a week from my 70+ older hens, so they're 3+ years old. And what happens is as they get older, the egg white gets thinner, and so the membrane struggles to hold the yolk and the membrane together while the shell is forming, and so you end up with these abnormalities. Calcium-coated eggs can look like this. This has, if you can see that has some little rough bumps on it. That is calcium carbonate deposit. The egg is completely fine. For some reason, the hen has put a little calcium on the outside. Calcium-coated eggs will look like they have a residue on the outside, like a salt residue, and it'll be real rough. And it's just calcium that's built up on the outside of the egg. This traditionally happens when, for whatever reason, the hen holds the egg too long in her shell gland. So maybe you don't have quite enough nesting boxes, or maybe you had them all outside while you were working inside the coop and she didn't have access to the nesting boxes. Who knows? Maybe she was a little stressed out, but for whatever reason, she held the egg a little longer than she should have, and so it ended up with a little bit of a calcium coating. The last egg I want to talk about is a lash egg. Now, I personally have not seen a lash egg, but I think every chicken owner should know what a lash egg is. A lash egg will be a membrane. It will be basically the membrane, sometimes even the shell, but it's very deformed, and it is literally a pouch of pus or infection. Okay, this is caused by an infection, whether it's a bacteria or viral, and it's when the hen is flushing that out of her system. Do not touch these with your bare hands. If you see something that's a little bit unusual and it's just that membrane, because it is that infection, that pus, I highly recommend you put your gloves on to get that out of the box, the nesting box. But a lash egg is caused by some sort of bacteria or virus, and it causes the inflammation of the oviduct. So then you end up with a pouch of pus that has been passed through your hen. Make sure you're checking your girls really well if you end up with a lash egg. But again, I highly recommend do some research, understand what a lash egg is so that you can recognize it and you can take the proper safety precautions. That's what I have for today. I hope you're having fun with your chickens and you're enjoying your eggs. Remember that if we leave the bloom or the cuticle on the outside of our farm fresh eggs, they are counter safe for up to 2 weeks. If you do refrigerate them right away, the eggs will last longer. They can last several months in the refrigerator. Please let me know if you have any questions. Have an amazing day.